Hello everybody, Kenny Shepard here from the Madera Speedway. You know, we take a lot of pride in the program that we have built at Madera to showcase the top talent in the country from the Madera Speedway on our MAV TV show. And we're very proud to sponsor this iRacing series for our stars from the Madera Speedway to compete against other top talent from all over the country. We look forward to seeing everyone very soon as we get the season kicked off at the Madera Speedway. Until then, have fun and be safe.
It seems as if nobody can beat Southern California's Austin Edwards. The 15-year-old has swept the first half of the Mobil 1 Junior Late Model eSports Series presented by Madera Speedway season. And now the series heads back west to the home iRacing track for many of our competitors. Can Edwards stay perfect? Will a new young star emerge from the pack to take the win at Irwindale Speedway? Welcome into round 4 of the Mobil 1 Junior Late Model eSports Series presented by Madera Speedway, here live on the Global SimRacing Channel. Good evening, I'm Jason Galvin alongside iRacing eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series driver Christian Challoner, Sean Ambrose directing tonight, and cameras provided by our man Dougie Beard. And welcome into my home track, Irwindale Speedway. This is where my career began, both in short track racing and in broadcasting. The fast half mile near Los Angeles has produced some of the best racing in America for the better part of 2 decades. For a closer look at the track where I grew up, let's take a look at our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Irwindale. Heir to the proud tradition of short track racing in the Los Angeles Basin, Irwindale Speedway opened its gates in 1999 and hasn't looked back since. Irwindale is a clean and modern facility filled with amenities for drivers, crews, fans, and sponsors alike. The facility features banked paved half-mile and third-mile ovals and even a figure 8 tossed into the middle. Progressive banking is the name of the game at Irwindale, and it was really one of the first tracks to get it right. 6 degrees closest to the line at the bottom, 9 degrees in the middle, and 12 way up top dusting that wall off. It's built in such a way that rolling between the banking is smooth and actually an easy transition, giving you, in holding the steering wheel, plenty of places to run and some added stability. Day or night, the most speed can often be made closest to the walls at Irwindale. In the sunlight, the shadows that cast off of the billboards in 1 and 2 can actually keep that part of the track cooler than the rest. And you know, as a race car driver, cool tracks equals fast speed. But even at night, you can run anywhere here at Irwindale. For a short track, Irwindale is actually a very wide speedway, but don't let that fool you. Turns 1 and 3 beg for you to overdrive the entry. The smart drivers will balance that send it part of their brain and get the entries right. Rubbin', bumpin', bangin', beating, all of the short track phrases that we are used to on the surface can and most likely will be used today. This has been our guide to Irwindale. Enjoy the show.
And I'll welcome back in now the driver of the number 37 JTG Doherty Racing entry over in the Coca-Cola eNASCAR Series here on iRacing. Christian Challoner. Christian, different challenges today for our race car drivers here. The first 3 rounds of this series were at your traditional old school short tracks, heavy braking, bumper to bumper, but tonight we're at a track that's earned a reputation as one of the premier tracks in the country because it races a lot more like a super speedway.
Yeah, this place definitely races much more like a big track compared to a conventional short track. Half mile, and it's pretty fast. I think we'll see a little bit different racing than people might expect around here, guys who haven't seen races at Irwindale on iRacing before. We won't really see cars running the bottom of the track very much. We'll see a lot of guys running up near the wall, but it does have a tendency to wind out into a 2 and sometimes 3 groove racetrack on here, so it can and usually does produce some very good racing.
And this is, of course, the inaugural season of the Junior Late Model eSports Series here on iRacing. We're using the iRacing Late Model Monte Carlo chassis. It's a 350 horsepower, small block, crate motor race car, and an 8-inch tire, similar to what these Junior Late Model drivers run in real life. Speaking of real life, this series is set up to kind of mirror what they do in real life. Christian, why don't you tell us about the race detail?
So last week was our halfway mark of the season. Now we're on around 4 or 6 at Irwindale. Going to be 100 laps like we've ran everywhere else. But a little bit of a change this week. We're going to have manually thrown cautions by the admin. And as we had last week, we're going to have 2 heats. 10 cars will advance from each heat. And then we'll have a consolation race where 4 will go through from there. As always, we'll be using fixed setups provided by Racecraft One. And we do have a restart rule as well. There is no changing lanes before the start-finish line.
Of course, these junior late model drivers have talked about several times here, 10 to 16-year-old drivers. Same rules they run in real life. You must be between the ages of 10 and 16 to compete in these series. Is a premise that was started out at Madera Speedway in Central California and has since taken off like wildfire. They've run races here at Irwindale, although interestingly, they usually run the 3rd mile inner track, which will act as pit lane for us here in tonight's contest. They've run at several tracks in California, the Bull Ring in Las Vegas, and now have expanded out as well into the East Coast with some traveling series. We are in qualifying right now, and of probably no surprise to anybody, Austin Edwards is currently on top of the board with a blistering 18.346 second lap, and that puts him a 1.5 seconds ahead of Bradley Erickson, although Nick Loden just turned in a flyer at an 18.42 and at least got, if not into the same time zone, at least he's in like the same part of the country as Austin Edwards compared to the rest of the field right now. Still a couple of cars that we're waiting on running here that should have a decent chance of taking a crack at Austin Edwards. Robbie Keneally, who is second in series points, is one of them who's out on the track right now. And watching him on the screen, see what Robbie can do as he comes around and runs an 18.44. So Keneally goes up to the P3 spot as they stand right now. Several of these drivers, Christian, have raced here in real life, so you know this is a race they've probably all been looking forward to. And we talked about points. Austin Edwards leads Robbie Keneally by 8. Caden McClenny and Barrett Polmus are tied for 3rd in points, 20 points back. That matters. The season champion gets a cool $1,000 here in the Mobil 1 Junior Late Model eSports Series presented by Madera Speedway. But there are a lot of drivers in this race that even if they haven't competed here, they've been to races here, or they've competed here in other cars. You look at Kersey Young and Seth Wise, who are also from Central California. This is just a 2-hour drive south of them. Cody Camilla, whose father Rob grew up racing here in his early stages of his late model career. Now Cody has raced at, and I believe won here in a junior late model down on the 3rd mile as well. Eric Nascimento's family has raced here for a long time. Austin Edwards grew up 30 minutes down the road from this racetrack and calls this place an Orange Show Speedway his 2 homes. So it's a lot of drivers in the field tonight who have to be ultra motivated. You come to your home track to come out on top of this one, Christian.
Yeah, I think, as you say, a lot of guys know this track a little bit in real life, and obviously that's going to play into things, and I think that should actually help us out with the racing. I think guys will have a bit more of an understanding about how the track will race, but pretty demoralizing right now. Austin Edwards the only driver in the 3s, and he's got him beat by nearly a full 10th of a second.
Cabe McClenny is out there right now. Cabe going all the way down to the apron, turn 3 and 4 on his qualifying lap as you're watching Joey Stearns right now. Cabe comes across and also gets into the 4s in an 18:44 with a 5. Cabe and Cale McClenny, the brothers from Bakersfield as well in Central California, have also spent some time at Irwindale Speedway throughout the years, and be fun to watch here tonight. And that is just about going to do it for qualifying. I don't see anybody else who's out on their flyers. A couple cars that didn't take qualifying laps here. Kersey Young's one of them, and Cassidy Hines is another one who did not take a flying lap. So it'll be interesting to see how they're able to work their way through the fields here. And that is the end of the timer. And qualifying has come to an end. And that means it is time to award our first award of the night, the Victory Custom Trailers Fast Qualifier Award, presented to our pole sitter. Again, it's the first place ace, Austin Edwards, who is yet to grid up there on the grid. Get a look at that orange 18 car when he does. Austin Edwards with an 18.346 and just pulverized the field in qualifying, Christian. You pull 0.08 of a second on second place and a 10th on third. You talk about putting everybody on notice.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge advantage as well around a track where it's only an 18-second lap time. We might as well at this point just start putting his name on that pole trophy before we even get to it. He's been so consistently just fantastic when it comes to qualifying.
Pace cars are rolling here, and so is the field. Let's take you through the starting grid for heat race number 1. Remember, top 10 cars transfer into the A main event, and it's Austin Edwards who will start on the front row next to second in points, Robbie Camilla.
And moving back to row 2, we got Cabe McClenny with a great qualifying time, puts him third in this heat, and alongside him is Bryson Ruff in fourth.
Seth Wise inside of row 3, and Barrett Pullman tied for third in points. We'll start next to him. Pardon me, Dominic Carter starts next to him.
And moving to the next row back, then we've got Barrett Pullman. He's going to be starting 7th. Alongside him is Jacob Putman.
Calvin Hagee, using his father Randy's account, will start in the 9th position. Casey Klein.
And next row back, we've got Cade Brown and Brody Moore.
Eric Nascimento and Braden Connor will bring up the field on this one. There are 14 cars in this event. Do not mind Jason Lawton, who I believe is not supposed to be in here under a driver's account. 14 cars, 10 are going to the main event. The other 4 are going to have to race their way into the LCQ. Green flag is out. Remember, we go on the iRacing green. We're underway here in the first of 2 heat races. Round 4 of the Junior Late Series. Look at them already spread out in the back 2 and almost 3 wide as everybody fans out for the first time in this series, a racetrack where everybody can spread out, and we're side by side for the lead. Camille on the outside of Austin Edwards as they come up off of turn 4, and he's going to keep a door on him, but Edwards will maintain the lead.
And this is interesting with the restart rule and going on green. It actually gives a little bit of an advantage to the car that starts in the lead on the top side. We see Robbie Keneally's maybe going to be able to get around Austin Edwards on the top here.
And they do not have a rule, interestingly, in this series that allows the starting driver, the leading driver, to pick what lane they start in. And so that could create an advantage for the P2 driver on starts and restarts. And in fact, Robbie Keneally slides into the lead ahead of Austin Edwards. That's the first time this season it took 3 rounds in a heat race for somebody to pass Austin Edwards on the track, Christian.
Yeah, now we're going to see if he can do anything about Robbie Keneally. I think Keneally should have this heat race if he just maintains the top side, but Edwards is trying to get something to happen on the bottom.
Been a couple cars that have run into some problems here. You just saw Brody Moore and Casey Klein have both already lost a lap. It looks like Cade McClenny and Eric Nascimento had early problems as well. In fact, McClenny you just saw pulling off onto pit road with the motor smoking on that race car. And so third in points is going to have to go to the LCQ and race his way in to the main event.
Yeah, a lot of cars had a bit of an incident there at the exit of turn 2 on lap 1. I think three or more went down pit road actually, and that's really decided this heat race at this point. We only have 10 that are within kind of the same range. Eric Nascimento is in 11th, about 16 seconds behind the leader right now.
And that is one of the new changes this week. There's 2 new updates to the rules after the first 3 rounds were a little calamity-filled, to put it mild. And one of those changes is you're on board with Austin Edwards, looking to the inside of Keneally. Look how wide you can get here on this track through 1 and 2. And despite the fact that they're racing for the lead, they both pulled away from third place Seth Wise right now. One of the 2 new changes is the caution rule. As we look at the battle for third with Seth Wise and Bryson Ruff to the inside of Wise, and that 24 car is Ruff. There is no iRacing caution enabled this week. They are manually throwing yellows from race control. The drivers are basically told, if you spin out or crash, get going. We're only throwing the yellow if it's going to impede the leaders. And that is because, again, we have, frankly, struggled to get any sort of green flag action so far in the first 3 rounds of this series. As you look out the back now in the battle for third position, as Bryson Ruff was able to get around Seth Wise using that low line, and now Seth Wise is going to see if maybe he can learn something from Ruff here. And Barrett Polmis, who's mentioned, tied for third in points, and the top 3 points finishers end up getting paid at the end of this series. Barrett right there in the 5th spot, poking his nose around as well. Working lap 11 here of 15 in the first heat race.
Yeah, Barrett's having a pretty good run here, and the driver we've seen maybe struggle a little bit in qualifying right now, running 5th. That's going to put him on the inside lane, I believe in 9th for the feature.
Battle for the lead, and it is Austin Edwards to the inside of Keneally again. He's poked his nose back out. They're racing door to door.
And I see Edwards trying to just run right down by that white line, but Keneally gets such a good run on corner exit.
Laps to go here at Irwindale Speedway. And Robbie Keneally planted to that white dotted line in the corners. Not really giving Austin Edwards much of a look. Bring it off turn 4 and take the white flag here in the opening heat.
Looks like Edwards is just sitting behind through 1 and 2. I'm wondering if he's going to try and dive all the way to the bottom of the track just to try and beat Keneally to the line here.
There's the move. You called it, Christian. Can he get back to the pedal is the question. Look at that thing kick sideways. The answer was no, decisively. Robbie Keneally wins his first heat race of the season, and Austin Edwards, for the first time this year, does not take the checkered flag first in a competition. He has won every heat race he's won. He's won every qualifying session he's run, and he has won every main event so far. So Keneally finds a little bit of chink in the Austin Edwards armor. And of other interesting note here as we move to heat race number 2, Christian. Heat race number 1, all those cars get to line up on the inside line, which means Austin Edwards is going to start inside of row number 2 and really have to fight his way through some traffic with the winner of this race starting on the outside up front. Could be very interesting to watch as we grid for heat race number 2. And let's take you through the starting lineup here of this one with Nick Loden. The few non-California drivers up at the front of the pack here this week is going to start on the spot, and Landon Lewis will start outside of row 1.
Moving back to row 2, we got Bradley Erickson and Grant Thompson. Both drivers have shown some great speed in early rounds. Had a little bit of trouble getting to the checkered, but I think they've got a great opportunity this week to really start at the front and see what they can do.
Joey Stearns in row number 3, and Holly Clark. Boy, great qualifying run for Holly this week up there inside the top.
Then moving back to row 4, we got Carson Lucas alongside Cody Camilla.
And Colby Sokol will start next to Katie Hedinger back there in row number 5.
And moving on to row 6, we got Joe Valeno alongside Jeff Harlan.
William Cox III qualifying dead last of the cars that took a lap, and Cox was pretty racy in the opening event at the Bull Ring at Las Vegas and has been kind of absent since then. Kersey Young and Cassidy Hines are both also slated to be in this heat race. I'm looking to see, and it does not look like Kersey Young made the call. It looks like she's having some connection issues again. Father Brad had texted me last week during the race that they were having some connection issues, and they were upgrading the internet this week, hoping that would fix it, but it looks like Kersey might be running into similar problems here this week. Cassidy Hines will take the green flag from the back of the pack after not taking a time in qualifying. So here we go, 15 more laps. Remember, cautions are not on anymore, only if race control deems we need one. Pace car peels off, and it will be Nick Loden who will bring us to the green flag here in race number 2, along with Landon Lewis on the outside off of turn number 4. Green flag is in the air, and we're underway for heat race number 2, and Bradley Erickson was pushing Nick Loden when the green came out.
Yeah, I think Erickson saw that the bottom line is the place that you don't want to be. He's trying to force it 3 wide coming off of the exit of 2.
This is the type of racing Irwindale Speedway is known for around the world, and it's Erickson to the bottom of Loden, 3 wide, but Landon Lewis gets that big run up top and will lead lap number 1, and immediately everybody slides into line 1, 2, and 3 before Grant Thompson can poke his nose in.
It was a really interesting move by Erickson. It nearly worked. I think if he'd have just been clear of Loden on the exit of 4, he might have been able to sneak that at least second spot. I'm not sure he's going to get past Landon Lewis. He had such a good drive off the exit of 4.
Great job by Erickson to stay right there. Grant Thompson as well. So the first heat race, we saw the top 2 kind of check out. This heat race, leaders not really pulling away quite as much. And look at them fanned out back there mid-pack. Holly Clark is side by side with Joey Stearns, and even farther back, they're fanned out 2 and 3 wide as well.
And I think interestingly, this is really going to hand the advantage, I think, in the feature to Landon Lewis having that outside pole. We've seen both times in both heat races, the outside pole has definitely been the place to be. So he really does not want to lose that. And I think everybody behind him, both Nick Loden and Bradley Erickson, they both want it too, because it's going to be such an advantage when you get through to that feature.
Riding with Bradley Erickson. See the shift light ticks on in straightaways as the cars get close to the rev limit.
Right ahead of him, we got Nick Loden keeps trying to make that bottom work. He's been able to get to Landon Lewis's left rear quarter, but really no further than that.
Halfway through. Great battle for the lead here. Loden determined to make that inside line work. Maybe learned something from the Seth Wise battle in the first heat race where Bryson Ruff was able to slide up to 3rd using that bottom. And Lewis trying to squeeze him down.
It's very, very tricky to make that bottom line pass work, but the key to this for Nick Loden might be that just to beat Landon Lewis to the line on the last lap, and he does make good progress off of 4. He's got some of the best drive off on the bottom that I've seen. He's almost clear on the exit of 2, but not quite.
And Loden's going to get him off of turn 4. And now Landon Lewis going to try the crossover. Said, hey, can I do that too?
I'm not sure that was a good idea. I think that's made him vulnerable to Erickson on his outside now.
Grant Thompson still right there as well. You can see him off the back. 3 to go. With 4 to go. I think Ericsson's got to trust that car a little more on the outside line here. There's two distinct driving styles, or really three around this track, Christian. You run the preferred line, which is right where Loden is right there, centered up on the dotted white line. You can make the top outside work with all four tires up there, but you've really got to sail it in and trust the race car with momentum. And you can conversely make the bottom work, but you have to be ultra aggressive, not only on the brakes down low, but also back on the throttle and smooth up out of the turn so that you don't get sideways like we saw with Austin Edwards coming to the checkers. And there, Ericsson finally able to complete that pass on Landon Lewis, and now Grant Thompson poking around on Lewis.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting track. If, as you say, you're not on the preferred line, I think you got to have a lot of confidence if you're running the top line, just because of how close you can get to the wall, and you got to really have confidence the car's going to stick, and you're not just going to actually end up in that wall.
Checkered flag is out. This race is over. And Robbie Keneally and Nick Loden will get to start on the front row of our main event by winning the two heat races. It's Loden and then Ericsson, Lewis Thompson, Holly Clark, Joey Stearns, Cody Camilla, Carson Lucas, Colby Sokol, William Cox III advancing. Cox held off Katie Hedinger, who had dropped back a little bit there. And here we go with the LCQ. And top four will move into the main event. And there will be 7 cars to run this, unless, again, Kersey Young was able to get things figured out, and she makes the call as the 8th car here. So let's take you through the starting lineup for the last chance qualifier. 10 laps to move in to the main event. And it'll be Casey Klein and Katie Hedinger who will start on the front row.
Lining up on row 2, we got our big hitter that went out in the first heat, Cade McClenny. He's going to be starting first on the inside. Alongside him, we got Jeff Harlan.
Brody Moore and Cassidy Hines are in row number 3. And as we mentioned, I do believe that Joe Valento will be the final car. Although it looks like, and I just realized this, Joe Valento dropped from the session during the heat race. And so Valento will not make the call here for the heat race. And another interesting moment happening. Eric Nascimento, who finished 14th in his heat, just asked why he was not allowed into the consolation race. So Eric Nascimento not into the consolation, although Jacob Putman seems to think he made it in. So we'll have to keep track of that here. There might be a couple drivers who don't get in to this that maybe thought that they should have.
Yeah, not quite sure why Eric Nascimento's not in this consolation race. He finished 14th in his heat, 10 laps down.
So the pace car's off. We're going to roll with 6. 6 for 4. And they're already checking up and bouncing off each other. Green flag is out. Away we go. And Hedinger on the outside going to try to take the lead from Casey Klein into turn number 1. Boy, instead, Katie goes way high and slow. They're 3 wide back there for second place, and it's McClenny, who had that early incident that hurt him in the heat race number 1, was able to pull clear into P2. Remember, Kate McClenny is 3rd in points and already looking for the lead on Casey Klein.
Yeah, straight down to the bottom and actually able to make it work. A little bit of contact for the last position right now, but Cade McClenny, he looks like he's going to take the lead here going down into 3.
McClenny can just run some comfortable laps out in front here with Klein and Hedinger, and the 3 of them have checked out from the combo of Valento, Hines, Harlan, and Brody. And it's important to note, Joe Valento got out there but lost a lap in the process of having the connection issues. So Joe Valento basically needs all 3 cars in front of him to have some sort of issue and DNF if he wants to get in. And as I say that, Brody Moore and Cassidy Hines just about bounced off each other down the front straightaway, and they're 3 wide for the transfer spot. Trouble to get into each other. They're still going around. Cassidy Hines stuck in 3 and 4 with Brody Moore. Now Valento and Harlan almost get together. Boy, Jeff Harlan here just needs to take a chill pill. All Harlan has to do at this point is complete the rest of the laps, and Harlan will transfer to the main.
Yeah, we saw the fight pretty big there for the transfer spot. The top 3 are just really checked out in this race, but everybody behind had a big fight. But it has really swung in Jeff Harlan's favor right now. He's got nobody around him. If he just makes it to the end, he's going to go through.
Coming up to 2 to go for Cabe McClenny, who's out in front of Casey Klein and Katie Hedinger, is sitting pretty in 3rd right now.
It's going to be a long way back for Cabe McClenny, though, going through to the feature. He's going to start 21st.
A track that's conducive to passing, though, Christian, and we saw Austin Edwards at a track that's really not, at Five Flags Speedway, come from the very back of the pack to win the main event. So, can be done in this series. Checkered flag in the air, the starter here at the virtual Irwindale Speedway, and Cabe McClenny wins the LCQ with Casey Klein, Katie Hedinger, and Jeff Harlan all transferring to the main event. Unfortunately, that means for any of the racing here between the heats and the LCQ. Got a 5-minute warm-up session coming up for the 24 cars that'll head to the main event, and while they do that, we want to show you a little bit of a preview of something you can catch on MAV TV, I believe tonight, featuring Madera Speedway, the home of the original 5150 Energy Drink Junior Late Model Series out on the West Coast.
Joey East recalling the base.
This is the special about Joey East, a young farm boy that transforms himself into a champion. Joey East began racing after his grandpa bought a quarter midget for them, and with a bag of tools in the back of an open bed pickup, they went racing.
I just felt really confident in my car and try to win as many as we can.
We didn't expect it to go where it did. I'm a farmer. I don't know what racing's supposed to look like, but
he slips that helmet on and he turns into a madman. I mean, you would not believe that's the same kid driving a car as it is when you talk to him. So very polite, raised very well, very good manners. But when he gets in the car, kind of leaves that back at the truck.
It's kind of amazing. It's almost like when he puts the helmet on, he becomes who he really wants to be.
But also able to have that consistency without having to push himself beyond the limits and being able to make a race car stay all the way to the end of these 70-lap races.
And this time it's Joey East picking up his first championship in the 5150 Energy Drink Junior Late Model Series.
And the beast, Joey East, gets the win.
Joey East takes
Can't wait to watch that Joey special on MAV TV. And a big thank you to Kenny Shepard of the Madera Speedway and the folks at MAV TV who have not only stepped up to be a sponsor of this series here, the Mobil 1 Junior Late Model eSports Series, presented by Madera Speedway, but also for all the great work they do promoting the youth of stock car racing in America and out on the West Coast. And as I mentioned several times, I'm proud that I have been fortunate enough to work on that TV broadcast with Kenny and Stephen Blakesley and Outback Andy Foster and the great crew that we have up at Madera the last 2 years. And we're looking forward to getting back to real-life racing here at some point this season, hopefully, as everything works out the current situation going on in our country. So praying for all those people out there as well affected by this. We know that you're missing real racing, and we're doing our best to bring you some virtual racing here instead. Let's take you through the starting grid for the main event, 100 laps here. Round number 4 of the Mobil 1 Junior Late Model eSports Series presented by Madera Speedway. And it's going to be Robbie Keneally and Nick Loden starting on the front row, along with Austin Edwards, Bradley Erickson in row 2, Bryson Ruff, Landon Lewis, row 3, Seth Wise, Grant Thompson in row 4, Barrett Polmis and Holly Clark are in row 5.
And just missing out on the top 10, we've got Dominic Carter is going to be lining up alongside Joey Stearns in 11th and 12th. Moving on back, we've got Jacob Putman and Cody Camilla in 13th and 14th. And then Calvin Hagee in 15th alongside Carson Lucas in 16th. And moving back, we got Cade Brown, Colby Sokol starting 17th and 18th. And then rounding out the top 20, we've got Braden Connor with William Cox III, 20th.
Cabe McClenny, tied for 3rd in points, will start 21st. Sticking on board with Cabe and enjoy that race to the front. Casey Klein, Katie Edinger, and Jeff Harlan. That's your 24-car field going 100 laps. Green flag is on the starter. Pace car will duck to pit road. Robbie Keneally and Nick Loden will bring us to the green. And we are ready to go with round number 4 of the Mobil 1 Junior Late Model eSports Series presented by Madera Speedway. Green flag in the air here in Southern California.
Good jump by Nick Loden already to the top side there.
Clean through turns 1 and 2. Calvin Hagee rolling the middle 3 wide, trying to poke his way into the top 10 back there, but it's Keneally who leads lap 1 with Loden on the outside in 2nd, and Austin Edwards trying to work that inside line and move himself up into the 2nd position.
Yeah, Edwards stuck down there on that bottom line right now. No hole for him to get in.
Got a car on the wall off turn 4. And that was Cody Camilla. One of his home tracks here at Irwindale Speedway along with Orange Show, and Cody has some heavy damage on that race car after getting loose in turns 3 and 4 and hitting the wall.
Not a good way to start the feature. Obviously still got the possibility of some yellows.
They do have a couple of fast repairs they can take if you get a caution and stay on the lead lap. Lucky Dog is also Keneally has opened up a half-second lead over Nick Loden here. Edwards and Erickson back there side by side. Edwards kind of wedged halfway between Loden and Erickson on that inside line. Remember, no tires allowed in this series. No tires, no fuel. You can only pit to fix damage, take fast repair. So you wonder, Christian, if Austin Edwards right now is content just kind of cruising down there on the bottom.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, that he's got to be real careful not to burn up, especially his right rear running down there on the bottom, just trying to get around Nick Loden. And I'm wondering if Nick Loden's actually trying to save some tires as well, because I really expected he was going to grab the lead on that top side, but it looked like he kind of let Robbie Keneally in on the exit of turn 2, and now he just doesn't look as strong as he did in the heat race, so I'm assuming he's trying to save a little bit.
Edwards almost clear a Loden off turn 4. Oh, it'll be interesting to keep an eye on Bradley Erickson. Looks like he has some connection issues there. Erickson blinking in and out.
It's going to make it difficult for guys to race around, and hopefully that clears up whilst he's in a little bit of clean air right now.
And Christian, as you know, at this track, having faith in the car next to you ever so important, because there's such a fine line between what works and what doesn't. And Edwards, a big run off turn 2, will clear Nick.
Yeah, really drove it off for 2 there. Got really close to the outside wall, but made it happen. And now let's see if he can run down Robbie Keneally.
Bryson Ruff looking inside of Ericsson. Remember, Bryson Ruff made a move work on the inside in his heat race to get around Seth Wise. Now maybe trying to do the same here in a battle for the 4th position.
And Bryson Ruff's a guy that we've seen who's got a lot of speed, just had some incidents in races so far this season, but maybe with a bit of a green flag run, we'll see what he's able to do. Tries to get to the inside now of Bradley Erickson, who looks like he's really struggling with the rear tires at the moment.
11 laps of a green flag run so far. Just closing in on the longest green flag run we've had this season. And Robbie Keneally is closing in on some lap traffic, and Casey Klein.
Yeah, it's a factor that we've not really seen come into it so far in this series, but obviously short tracks, it's difficult to get around lap cars, and they don't want to go a lap down either, so it's going to play into this lead battle. I'm sure we see Austin Edwards is slowly chipping away at Robbie Keneally, but he's not there yet. He's about 0.4 of a second behind right now.
Austin Edwards last time around ran a lap that was quicker than anybody ran in qualifying, and he did it on lap 12 of the main event, 18:34. That's nearly as quick as he ran on his pole-winning qualifying lap. In fact, it's identically quick to what he had run on his pole-winning lap, and last time around ran an 18:42, and again chunked off 0.8 of a second on Keneally. And just like that, Robbie Keneally looks in the rearview mirror, and what does he see? A big old dog paw on the hood of an orange car, and he knows he's got company for the points lead.
Yeah, we've seen this a lot from Austin Edwards throughout the season, that he's clearly been the strongest driver, really, and you do not want to see him behind you, especially with so many laps to go. And Robbie Keneally is going to have to do a lot to hold him off here, I think. We've seen Edwards is able to pass on both the bottom and the top of the racetrack.
Edwards with a run off of turn 2. Keneally closes the door on lap 16.
Speaking of lap traffic, you can see just ahead there, Casey Klein is just about to be caught by the leader here. And that's really going to dictate what the leaders do in terms of which line they pick. Looks like Casey's going to the bottom of the track. Makes life a little bit easier when you're the lead car to be able to pass on the top side.
Braden Connor just ahead as well. Klein going to stay down there off of turn 4.
These lap cars are an opportunity for Edwards because it just checks Keneally's line up just a little bit, makes him a little bit slower off the corners.
Braden Connor now, the next lap car. Robbie Keneally comes up. Connor running right in front of them there. Boy, Robbie Keneally in trouble up front with the lap car, but we're going to look at the battle for P4 here. And this is Ruff and Erickson. And Austin Edwards gets a run at Keneally for the lead now as a result of working around Braden Connor up front.
Yeah, Braden Connor really checked up Robbie Keneally and has given Edwards an opportunity, but Keneally was able to get back to the top, so pass is going to be difficult for Edwards on the bottom. See him going all the way down to that white line, and he is making some progress forwards, but not quite enough. Both of them nose to nose as they go into turn 1.
Time by, Austin Edwards had a nose on Keneally and leads the lap.
He's slowly getting further forwards.
Boy, Keneally really drove it into 3, Christian.
Yeah, and it's actually really hurt him. He had to check up right in the middle of the corner, and it allowed Edwards to clear him on the exit. Just could see it on the backstretch there. It looked like Keneally was...
And a caution right in front of the leaders. And that was Holly Clark, who was around in the grass off turn. Holly Clark in the 26 car, and we'll go to our GSRC replay here in a moment. And I think you're going to see Holly Clark just got into some trouble, Christian.
Yes, he turned around on the bottom of the racetrack already there in the grass. You see here, coming through 1 and 2 on that dotted white line, just starts to lose the rear end and then gets clipped by the 99 and sent around into the grass. And it's actually probably what Austin Edwards really didn't want to see, because now he's going to have to restart on the inside.
Just going to say, he just took the lead, and now he's got to restart on the inside. That was Cade Brown in the 99. As you ride on board with Cade, who collected Holly as she went around. It's a shame. Holly Clark was running up there on the back half of the top. Had a nice run going and went around. We've seen a couple cars come in and pit for damage repairs.
Holly Clark, unfortunately, 3 laps down, so it's a long way back.
This is, I was just going to say, Christian, this track is hellacious on cars that need to pit for damage repair. Because there's not a true pit road at Irwindale Speedway, and the infield is also a racetrack, a third-mile racetrack that's traditionally used for Legends and Bandolero cars, but also for the real-life junior late model races. They happen down on that inside third-mile track. And because of that, there's no dedicated pit road. In fact, in real life, as they come across here, you'll see the drivers actually exit to the right of turn 1 where that attenuator is, and they re-enter going into turn 3 with an opening on the wall, and the pits are behind the pit grandstands in turns 1 and 2. And so on iRacing, when you have to pit here, you have to roll around at whatever the pit speed is, and it's very slow, Christian, 35, 40 miles per hour on that inside track before you get to your stall. And you have to run the entirety of the lap, essentially. So it doesn't give you a chance like our other tracks to get up off of pit road and get a run in some speed. You basically have to pace with the field, plus take your damage repair, and it almost always results in you losing a lap.
Yeah, it's not a track where you want to have to come down and fix damage, especially if you don't have fast repairs either. Obviously with fast repairs, you just stop in the box and immediately the car is fixed. But if you've got to take manual damage repair, there's really no time to do it. Especially if you're at the tail end of the line, which if you're a damaged car, you almost always are. It's very, very difficult to get any damage fixed at a track like this.
We had 26 laps, I believe, is what we ran under green there. And that would be the longest green flag run of the season by far. It's certainly the first time we've gotten into the 20s on a green flag run this season. So great job by our drivers here as we get ready to come back to the green. And the field doubles up with Austin Edwards on the inside of Keneally, Nick Loden, Bradley Erickson, row 2, then Bryson Ruff. Grant Thompson's up to P6 on the outside of row 3. Seth Wise, Barrett Holmes, Landon Lewis, and Dominic Carter. That's your top 10. Pace car peels off Austin Edwards. The first place ace brings us back to the green. And boy, did he shoot out of a cannon on that one and clears Keneally right away as they head into turn 1.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and Keneally was kind of about half a car back. He was to his door rather than nose-to-nose with him, and then Edwards got the jump on him when the green came out. Just easily able to clear him.
Bryson Ruff trying to work the outside of Nick Loden and move up into the top 4 as they go into 1 and will do so.
Oh,
big wreck in turn 1. Our first big wreck of the night. No caution flag yet. Half the field's junked, and there it is. Dominic Carter is in it. I saw somebody upside down with Joey Stearns upside down. Carson Lucas, Jeff Harlan, Casey Klein, Holly Clark, all involved in this one. Let's take a look at our GSRC replay, and that's Carter. Carter's going to kind of be at the front of this. Actually, 2 wrecks that happen at once here.
Yeah, you see there in the mid-pack, there's a bit of a front-to-rear contact, and it was just turning those cars up into the wall. And unfortunately for Dominic Carter, he got turned hard right into the wall. And I think even if that secondary wreck hadn't been happening behind, everybody was going to pile in. You see Carter there gets tagged and immediately tries to save the car, but just goes straight to the wall. And everybody behind with nowhere to go.
It started with Carter got turned by Putman, and like you said, then Joey Stearns is the start of that. And that one's a little more racing deal. Joey just kind of turns down into Colby Sokol on entrance, and they go around, and then Stearns ends up upside down.
And in amongst that, you see behind Stearns here, you've got that 05, Cade McClenny. He sees that happening right in front of him. Manages to get around it with some contact with the outside wall, but
let's ride with Cade. Should be pretty wild for Cade McClenny.
You see duck between that gap between the car and the wall right there. Does pick up a little bit of right front damage, but I think around here he'll be okay with that. Definitely the lesser of the possible evils getting through that wreck.
Jacob Putman will be given an end of longest line penalty, which is also part of our new rules. It's a 2 caution rule. Basically, if you bring out or cause 2 incidents, you'll be parked, and after the first one, you're given an end of longest line penalty as part of it. And several cars are down on pit road. Holly Clark, Dominic Carter, Joey Stearns, Putman's also on pit road right now, trying to get damage repaired. Doesn't look like any of them are taking fast repairs, so maybe they've already used them, or maybe they all had to take tows. I don't think Putman had to take a tow, but I imagine Stearns, who was upside down, certainly did. In fact, Stearns just got his fast repair. Looking at Putman back there, Putman pulls away.
And this is a good example, actually, of what we were talking about with getting damage repair. You see the pace car and all the other cars going around the top side there as Joey Stearns is trying to exit, and only just gets out in front of the pace car. Sorry, that was Jacob Putman, not Joey Stearns.
It's just a warning not to take tires, so I wonder if that means one of the lapped cars might have accidentally taken them. Lights are out, double file we go. And again, Christian, Robbie Keneally is even pacing down the back straightaway, nowhere close to even with Austin Edwards.
Yeah, he's sitting pretty far back. He's sitting in his door again, and I think if he wants an opportunity to be on Austin Edwards' outside, he needs to pull up a little bit more. He's a bit better now, but still sitting just a nose behind.
Boy, and Austin Edwards, he went before I heard green, green, green called. Remember, he got penalized for that at Five Flags Speedway for jumping the starts. We'll see if he's penalized on that. Into the wall. Who was that? That was 4th place. Bryson Ruff just pounded the wall off of turn number 2. Right in front of that car is very heavily beat up from that contact, Christian.
Yeah, it's going to hurt him, but as we've seen with these cars, they're pretty tough. They can take a bit of a beating, but it's going to knock his confidence, I think, more than anything. And right now, he's got Nick Loden trying to get by him on the bottom.
Jacob Putman's been black flagged for taking tires. That explains why that was called out.
Looks like Joey Stearns was also at the end of his night. He's listed as being disqualified. I'm not quite sure why.
Out in front, Austin Edwards has opened up about a 0.4 of a second lead over Robbie Keneally. Bradley Erickson hanging tight in the 3rd position. Side by side still for P4 between Loden and Ruff. And it's Loden on the bottom and Ruff up. And Chris Murdoch, Race Control, has just issued a drive-through penalty to Bradley Erickson in 3rd place for connection issues. Well, I'm not sure what a drive-through is not going to fix your connection problems. It's usually a park it or fix it type of deal. And we'll see if Bradley adheres to that. On board with Loden as you look at Ruff, who just got clear for 4. Bradley Erickson doesn't appear to have any intention of pulling off right now, but he just blinked out again.
Yeah, it's quite a rough penalty. Obviously having to come down pit road, that's going to take him completely out of contention. And as you say, it's not actually going to fix his issue.
And it still hasn't gotten better. And here he comes, Bradley Erickson out of 3rd. And he was given an official black flag from Chris Murdoch, so he was forced to come down pit road. Bradley Erickson came into this event 7th in points, but within striking distance of 3rd, certainly. even with one strong run here tonight, and instead is sitting on pit road out of the top 3.
And he was having a great run, obviously running up there in 3rd place, and unfortunate to lose that for something such as a connection issue, but that is one of the realities of online racing. It does happen, and it happens in all major series. Is if there's cars out there with connection problems, they are generally removed from the race to really save the other competitors.
Yeah, for as unfair as it seems to park one person for that, those connection issues, and Christian and I, if you're new to iRacing, Christian and I, as long-time iRacers at pretty competitive levels, can both tell you we've both been victim of this before. You don't want to be the person who gets involved in something because of that. Meanwhile, we're halfway on the track, the halfway challenge presented by Raceface Telmed, and it's Austin Edwards, the first place ace, who will take home that halfway challenge award for the 3rd time in 4 events. Only time he didn't lead halfway, round 2 at 5 flags, when, as we mentioned, he was penalized, went to the back with the jumping the restart penalty, and still was able to drive back through the field and capture the checkered flag with that dramatic pass on the last lap in the incident that involved Jaden Walbridge, who's not here tonight, by the way. It's interesting that Jaden Walbridge didn't make the call here at Irwindale, as we look at a battle between Seth Wise and Barrett Polmus.
Yeah, you see Barrett Polmus running up in 7th and having a solid run tonight. Going to pick up some good points for this, but having a bit of a fight here with Seth Wise. And Seth Wise is doing a great job as well. We haven't really spoken a lot about him tonight, but he's having a solid run. A lot of drivers actually having a good run inside the top 10. We got Colby Sokol in 10th right now.
And let's slide a little bit farther back here and take a look at the OI side right now, and it's McClenny edging ahead down the back straightaway. That Dobitz construction car, a bright yellow 05. That's what his car looks like in real life as well. So you'll get a chance to watch junior late models on MAV TV. You won't miss Cade's car, I assure you. And Cade's going to slide around Cade and up into the top 10. We mentioned 3rd in points coming into tonight, and then he had to go to the LCQ after being involved in that lap 1, turn 1 wreck in the heat. Won the LCQ, and he's managed to battle his way into the top 10 just past the halfway point of this race, Christian.
Yeah, had an eventful race. Obviously, we talked about him.
Oh, and contact behind him. Cade Brown gets nudged. William Cox gave him the bumper. Brown somehow hung on. That was a great save by Cade Brown. Let's take a look at the GSRC replay on that one.
You see Cade going into the corner here and gets some assistance right in the center, and I think that's probably one of the highest angle saves we've seen so far in this series. Most of the time, guys are ending up going straight to the outside wall, so a great job by Cade to hold on to that.
Trouble on 1 and 2. Got a car in the grass. And that is Katie Hedinger. From 17th, Katie Hedinger went around. Boy, and this happened right in front of the leaders. We've got leaders who are going to be involved in this.
Yeah, we see the 4 on the bottom of the track just checked up, and I think that was Bryson Ruff who actually spun Katie around.
It was, and then Nick Loden, who was up there in the top 5, hammered her. And then she even got a piece of Grant Thompson and of Landon Lewis. Boy, so we got 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th who all picked up heavy damage in that in some way. Nick Loden just cratered back to 8th place and has a ton of work now. And here's McClenny working on Sokol. McClenny just got around Colby Sokol up to the 9th spot.
And amongst all that chaos, McClenny's really making progress, and his next target is going to be Nick Loden. As you say, a heavy contact on the front of Loden's car, and he's not really had as strong a race as I was expecting. I thought he'd have a good shot to get to the lead starting 2nd, but obviously that big incident there has really put pay to that, and now he's probably going to be under fire from McClenny in a couple of laps.
Cabe McClenny. Look at Cabe, and I mentioned you can make the outside line work here, Christian, but you've got to really trust that race car. It'll kind of float on you up in the gray. Boy, Cabe is trusting that race car.
Yeah, he looks like he's got a lot of confidence in it right now, and obviously making a great recovery. He's 3rd in points for a reason. And I think tonight he's got a good chance at actually getting himself up into the top 5 if the rest of the race goes green.
Working lap 65 now. McClenny is starting to chunk away at Loden back there. Let's run you through the top 10 as they run right now. We got a potential battle brewing up here with Robbie. Let's run you through the top 10. It's Austin Edwards leading Robbie Keneally, Bryson Ruff, Grant Thompson, Landon Lewis, Barrett Polmas, Seth Wise, Nick Loden, Cabe McClenny, and Colby Sokol. That's your top 10. Barrett Polmas to pit road. Oh, what is that about?
I'm wondering if the damage that he got has really hurt his nose, and now he's overheating, and that's why he's had to come down.
8.
Yeah, the worst possible time for that to happen for him.
Looking for the yellow, and I'm not seeing the reason for it.
Was manually thrown by the admin, but I've yet to pick up on if we had a car around.
William Cox off of turn 2, and just found it. William Cox on lap 68, and he got some help from Calvin Hayes. Well, there's a gaggle of cars here battling for position. Carson Lucas, Cade Brown there as well.
And we see that the 48 gets into the back of the 3 right in the middle of the corner, and then it continues all the way down the straightaway, and eventually the 3 goes around.
So we'll have about 25 laps left when we go back green here. Calvin Hage given an end of longest line penalty for causing that caution. And Barrett Polmas is up ahead of Austin Edwards as if he's going to get a wave around here. And that would actually save Polmas, put him back on the lead lap.
It looks like he was able to get out just in between the pace car and Austin Edwards, so if that is the case, then he's extremely lucky.
See if the lights roll out on the pace car here, and Polmas will get the wave around, and we double file grid back up. Nope, gonna get one more lap, it looks like here. Pace laps at Irwindale have been known to be a little bit longer here on iRacing.
Right now, if Barrett Polmas does get the wave around, as we expect that he will, that'd mean that we got 15 cars on the lead lap. First car lap down is Casey Klein in 16th.
Again, good time here under caution to run through the field. We've got Austin Edwards leading Robbie Keneally, Bryson Ruff, Grant Thompson, Landon Lewis, Seth Wise, Cabe McClenny up to 7th. Colby Sokol, Cade Brown, and Carson Lucas top 10. There's the wave for Polmas. Calvin Hagee is in P11, but will take a penalty to go to the end of the longest line here. Nick Loden, William Cox III, Cody Camilla, and Barrett Polmas is in 15th, the last car on the lead lap. Casey Klein, Braden Connor, Jeff Harlan all 1 lap down. Katie Hedinger is 2. Bradley Erickson is just 3 laps down. Dominic Carter's 4 back. Jacob Putman, Joey Stearns, Holly Clark all out of this event. Green flag back in the air.
Much better restart for Robbie Keneally that time. He is going to stay to Austin Edwards' quarter, but I think Edwards is still going to have enough drive off of 2 to clear him, and he does.
Bryson Ruff settled into third with that right front damage, and here's Grant Thompson, the Alabama driver, poking around on the outside of Ruff off of. I said it was Bryson Ruff, got a great run off the corner there.
And Ruff's looking like he's about to challenge Keneally as well. He got right to his bumper on the exit at 2.
Ruff looking low. We've seen Bryson make that inside line work before.
Yeah, he's really, really strong right now. Just looks like he's got much better tires than most of the drivers around him. He's going to be at Keneally's quarter almost as the end of 3. Keneally taking the top again.
Speaking of making the inside line work, Landon Lewis has just about gotten around Grant Thompson.
Yeah, Grant Thompson's on the top side, which is preferred, but as you say, Landon Lewis making that bottom line work.
Well, and now Keneally able to finally clear Ruff. Bryson gave him a big run. Boy, look at Robbie Keneally is way up the track. Almost scraping blue paint on that wall. 20 to go.
It looked like the early part of the run he was trying to run the more conventional line on the dotted white, and then now he's moved all the way up to the wall, and it does look like it's working better for him, but Bryson Ruff's coming back at him, trying to run a little bit more of a diamond through 3 and 4.
Landon Lewis cleared Grant Thompson. Seth Wise in 6th is still tacked on to these drivers as well. And even Cade McClenny back there in 7th is hanging around within striking distance.
McClenny running the conventional line right now. Hasn't quite been able to stick with these guys. Wise doing a great job on the bottom right now, trying to get around Thompson. He's been making solid progress. He's about nose ahead coming to the line this time by. I think he might be able to pull off the pass this lap.
Off a 2, very slides up.
He was so close to being cleared, just the bumper right there, but not enough.
They get together. Contact. Seth Wise overdrove it, and who's going to take advantage? How about Cade McClenny up into the top 5? What a run for Cade McClenny from LCQ to the top 5 with 16 laps to go.
I said it looked like he was falling off a little bit of this pair, but they helped him out right there.
Battle for second has heated up again. Keneally with Ruff and Lewis behind him. And look at Landon Lewis trying to make that inside line.
A few drivers we've seen be really competitive on the bottom is Landon Lewis, and he's trying to make this move work on Bryson Ruff right now. Ruff looked really strong at the beginning of this last run, but it seems like he's starting to fade a little bit, maybe just ran it slightly too hard. Lewis all the way down to the very bottom of the track, but it didn't work for him right there. Ruff able to get a much better drive on the top side.
Austin Edwards has checked out from the field, 1.5 seconds, and Keneally now has opened up another 0.5 second back to these two, who are glued wheel to.
It looks like Bryson Ruff's the better driver through turns 1 and 2, but Landon Lewis looks much stronger in 3 and 4 on that bottom side.
Oh boy, if they didn't touch there, they probably could have held hands.
And this time Lewis with a better run off of 2.
Lewis going to try to slide up the track in front of Ruff, makes it work. Can Bryson cross him over? No. Hand P3 to Landon Lewis.
Ruff trying the bottom in 1 and 2, but just nothing down there for him. Lewis is clear here. Has he got enough time to get to Keneally and make a challenge for second, though?
10 laps to go for Austin Edwards. And if he can hang on for the win here, Austin Edwards is going to be up to a $1,000 in race winning. 9 to go. Let's check back in on the battle for P5, and Cade McClenny is under attack from Seth Wise and Grant Thompson. Remember, Wise and Thompson got together and opened the door for McClenny to move up, and that's now a 3-car battle for P5.
And McClenny definitely doesn't look as fast as Wise and Thompson behind him, but those two have definitely not the best of friends right now. Had that contact that let McClenny through in the first place. A slow car on the top on the exit of T right there, checking everybody up.
Boy, in a battle for P2, and I don't know what happened with Keneally, but all of a sudden Landon Lewis has caught Keneally, and so has Bryson Ruff. And Lewis was actually in P2 when they crossed the line last time. Side by side in 3, Lewis trying to crowd Keneally. He's going to get him off of turn 4.
Not sure if it was a mistake from Keneally or if there was some lap car intervention, but Keneally looked like he was safe in that P2 spot, but Lewis obviously got to him and cleared him, and now Ruff's going to have an attack as well.
Oh boy, Robbie Keneally got turned by a lap car on lap 93. Jeff Harlan, it's like Keneally missed the entrance to the corner and Harlan got into the back of him. Keneally with a hero save. Harlan pounded the wall, and that's what happened. Wow. 4 laps to go.
That's a rough way to lose second spot. He does have an opportunity to get it back, but Landon Lewis did look the stronger driver. But it gets a little bit tight on the exit of 2 there. Might have given Keneally an opportunity.
Oh, and I hear cars crashing. And the caution's out. Trouble on the back straightaway. And we're going to get ourselves a green-white checkered, and Nick Loden's in it. And that car is big junk off of turn 2. Calvin Hagee's in it as well. It started with Loden, and Cade Brown and Hagee ended up a victim.
Nick Loden's evening started off so promising, and it's just gone really sideways in the feature right here. You see him go down to the bottom of the track, clips the nose on the 99, and just turns himself really up into the outside fence.
So Loden rolling around pit lane. Any shot of a strong finish for Nick Loden pretty much done. The field's still circling back around, trying to catch back up to the pace car here. And this will be the green-white check. And it'll be the only one. Boy, if you are Landon Lewis here, Christian, tell me you don't take a stab at the restart. We've seen Austin Edwards has kind of, I don't want to say he's jumping the starts, but man, if he doesn't have it timed out perfect, he's darn near. Tell me if you're Landon Lewis that you don't at least take a stab at it here.
Oh, you got to try. I think this is exactly what Austin Edwards didn't want to see, a green-white checkered. He'd obviously checked out. The race was clearly his at that point. But Landon Lewis, we saw that Robbie Keneally wasn't able to make anything happen on Edwards on the restarts. But with Lewis there, it's a different deal. As you say, it really comes down to timing when that green comes out, and if Lewis can keep at least a quarter on Edwards going down into 1.
Boy, if he can keep a corner on him and really sail it in there, we could have a heck of a race. And Landon Lewis, we've seen over the last 30 laps or so, has probably been the second best car, even though he ended up in second because of that contact between Keneally and the lap car. So the way he got there was maybe a little fortuitous, but he's certainly been strong over the back half of this race.
Yeah, started 6th and definitely had the pace really all night to make something happen. I think this is obviously a great opportunity for him to try and take this win. It really does come down to the restart though, and if he can stay side by side with Austin Edwards down into turn 1, and we've seen him be really, really good on these short runs, so I think it's possible.
And as that caution came out, Seth Wise actually got around Cade McClenny. And there's actually a conversation happening right now where some of the drivers, and Christian, I think that you've probably been part of this before in league situations, but multiple drivers are asking about when the restart is.
Yeah, this tends to come up as a question in any series that has a restart rule. I believe the command here is that we go on green, so
Chris Murdoch
it shouldn't favor anybody.
Chris Murdoch just changed it and said it's on the leader, and the only restart that's on the green is the initial race start, and that would be new to all of us. I think even the drivers didn't know that they changed that rule. So apparently it is on Austin Edwards, and they come off of 4, and Edwards jumped way early, and Landon Lewis never had a chance on that one. Edwards clear. We had somebody blow up at the back. Landon Lewis trying to hold on to second. Coming around to the white flag this time. Keneally poking low on Lewis. Seth Wise under Bryson Ruff. Seth Wise gets turned by McClenny. It bounces off of Ruff. White flag in the air.
Yeah, really disappointed for Ruff right there. Nearly got turned around, straightened up, but lost a lot of positions. Kim McClenny is now on the top side.
Landon Lewis takes the run down low. He won't get there. Austin Edwards goes 4 for 4. Lewis, Keneally battle for 4th, and they're going to give it to Cabe McClenny by that much. Wait, no. An update. Seth Wise, he had even flipped at the end of that one. Seth Wise by 0.003 of a second over Cabe McClenny for the 4th position. We're going to take another look here at the end of this one from the skybox, and there was a pretty big wreck in turn 3 and 4 as well, mid-pack. We'll try to get you updated on that one and get you the full rundown, but here's another look at this finish.
McClenny with the top, Seth Wise on the bottom. McClenny not quite able to out-drag Wise to the line.
Boy, Bryson Ruff was the car that got turned, and you talk about heartbreak from a potential podium to the last car on the lead lap, and here's a look at Bryson Ruff's final.
Yeah, we saw he was getting moved around a little bit on the initial restart. I'm not sure who that was who sent it in on the bottom, but that definitely is what spun Ruff around.
What a finish to this one. A great race here in round number 4 at Irwindale. We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll talk to the first place ace and the rest of our podium here on the Global SimRacing Channel.
Hello everybody, Kenny Shepard here from the Madera Speedway. You know, we take a lot of pride in the program that we have built at Madera to showcase the top talent in the country from the Madera Speedway on our MAV TV show. And we're very proud to sponsor this iRacing series for our stars from the Madera Speedway to compete against other top talent from all over the country. We look forward to seeing everyone very soon as we get the season kicked off at the Madera Speedway. Until then, have fun and be safe.
Welcome back here into the virtual Irwindale Speedway in round number 4. The Mobil 1 Junior Late Model eSports Series presented by Madera Speedway. What a main event. This one was finally a lot of green flags, side-by-side racing, and another great finish here to round number 4. And let's take a look at our finishing order here in this one. And it was Austin Edwards, the first place ace, earning that nickname. He's 4 for 4 now here in this series with his 4th checkered flag. Landon Lewis picks up a best finish of this series for the young man. 2nd place with Robbie Keneally, 2nd in points, and he'll really hold stake to that with another podium finish. Seth Wise snuck into 4th on that last lap around Cabe McClenny. Carson Lucas, Colby Sokol, Grant Thompson, William Cox III, and Cade Brown, your top 10.
Just missing out on the top 10 tonight. We got Kelvin Hagee and Braden Connor in 12th, and Bryson Ruff running up deep inside the top 5 most of the race, and ended up getting turned around there at the end, comes home 13th. Katie Hettinger, first car off the lead lap, in 14th. Next row back, we had Casey Klein and Bradley Erickson. Bradley Erickson had an incident early on, and unfortunately lost 3 laps, never got them back. Moving on, we got Dominic Carter and Barrett Palmas came home 17th and 18th, with Nick Loden, the driver who had so much promise in the heat races, unfortunately just had a really rough time in the feature, came home 19th. Jeff Harlan in 20th.
Cody Camilla, Jacob Putman, Joey Stearns, and Holly Clark. That's how the final 4 cars shake out. And let's bring our winner back into the virtual victory lane here again. For the 4th time in as many races, Austin Edwards takes home the checkered flag here tonight at Irwindale Speedway. Austin, this one was nearly perfect for you. What you lost a heat race. What's up? Your perfect season's over.
To be honest, I was nowhere near perfect in this race, whether it was obvious or not. Don't know if you guys caught it on the broadcast too, but I think I needed a new front everything. Coming into this race, everyone was kind of gravitating towards the outside, which I figured would happen because that's where you get the most banking out of this track, and that's where they run in real life for the most part. So I knew that, it's kind of impossible to pass people when they're up against the wall. So I started working really hard trying to learn the inside line as best as I could, and apparently I didn't have it figured out well enough in the heat race. So I wasn't able to get Robbie Keneally, who had the outside nailed down perfectly. So when we got into the race, I started playing around with it when I got to the inside of Nick Loden, and eventually I found a groove that worked, got the car to rotate, and eventually I was able to get up to Robbie Keneally, get up past him, and just get into a groove and pull away.
Well, it's just another great run for you here once you got to the lead. Like you said, you were really able to check out there, and the rule change to restarts allowing you to kind of control the restarts yourself. How much was that a benefit to you here in this?
Well, on my end, what I've been hearing is that you have to go on green on the initial start, which is a mistake I made at 5 flags, but then from that point on, I believe you could go on the leader anytime in the start box. So I'm not sure what the miscommunication was there, but being able to go when you want makes a major difference, because just to have that extra car length lead on the car behind you is a world of difference.
It sure seemed like, at least to me, did you notice going into the green-white checkered at the end that everybody else was a little confused?
Yeah, it seemed like it a little bit. All I saw was 4 wide in my mirror, and once I saw that, I just looked forward and decided that I will watch the replay afterwards.
Well, congratulations, man. What another great run for you, and you're 4 for 4 now in this series. That means that you've made more in the last 4 weeks in this series iRacing than Christian and I have made in our entire GSRC broadcasting.
I'm telling you, Jason, you got to get into this deal.
That's, well, I submitted my application, but Rod did not believe that I was born in 2007.
Oh, come on, Rod. It's not that big of a difference.
I know. Hey, congratulations, Austin. Great job. And next, where are we off to? We're off to South Boston next week. Boy, you talk about a challenging track. That could.
Oh, actually, I believe that there's been a schedule change. I may be wrong, but I'm hearing rumors about Bristol. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm excited either way.
Oh, okay. Well, to be announced. That would be quite spectacular. What would your thoughts be on Bristol?
Bristol, I personally don't know. I've never actually run them in these crate late model cars, so I don't know whether it be an outside line in track or an inside line track or what on earth it would be. But either way, going to a NASCAR track is always fun, so I'm looking forward to it.
You want a piece of advice if we go to Bristol?
Oh, absolutely.
Just lick the stamp and send it, kid.
Yeah, it's what I've done the last 4 races. I'll keep it up.
It's worked out pretty well. Congratulations, Austin Edwards, winner here in round number 4 at Irwindale Speedway. And Austin also picked up a couple of awards tonight. Of course, he was the Victory Custom Trailers Fast Qualifier Award winner for setting the pole. And he also picked up the Raceface Telmed Halfway Challenge Award as well. Our hard charger presented by BEA Energy Drink tonight was Cabe McClenny, who started back in 21st and finished up in 5th. Cabe was one of 4 drivers to pick up double-digit spots, but he gained 16. It was 5 more than anybody else to win that hard charger award. And our final award to hand out here tonight is the Fast Race Lap Award presented by HomeSmiles.com, and that will go to our 3rd place finisher, Robbie Keneally, and we'll talk to him in just a minute. But first, Christian's caught up with the driver who snuck into P2 there at the end of the race.
Landon, it looked like it started with a good qualifying lap at the beginning of the night, progressed nicely through the heat races, started 6th, 3rd in line on the outside, and then able to sneak up there into 2nd at the end of the race. It looked like it was a pretty good night all around for you.
Yes, sir. I was kind of worried about this weekend. I'm not really familiar with this racetrack, and just like Myrtle Beach, I was really familiar. That's my home track, so I was really feeling confident there. And we went into this race having a little bit of hopefully we can get a couple spots and bust down a good qualifying lap. Kind of helped me get to the front, so we weren't in the tail of the field, and then end up leading the heat race and kind of fell back just a tad. And I ended up finishing 3rd. And then finally the race come, and I was saving about 25 to go, and then I figured it was about time to start pushing to the front, and we got up to 2nd, and I was trying to make a last run for the win there at the end, but congratulations to Austin.
Yeah, we definitely saw there at the end. It looked like you had a great turn of pace, as you say, when you kind of got it going with 25 to go, and obviously had a little bit of a help to get that 2nd spot with Robbie Keneally in that lap car. But on that last restart, we thought that you might have an opportunity. We had a little bit of confusion with the restart rule. We felt if it was a go on green that you might have been able to hold to Edwards' outside. But yeah, I got to be happy with that 2nd spot. Obviously, going to pick up a little bit of money for that too. And yeah, a great way to kickstart the season. And before we let you go for the night, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out to my mom and my dad for all they do. My dad was actually spotting me tonight, and he helped me a ton getting me cleared, because the night was all about side by side and getting cleared. I like to thank Ron Hornaday for all he does. He goes out of the path to help me, and Candace Hornaday, Billy Workman for all he does, Reaction, Tomcat, LNA South, North and South for all they do for me, and that's about it. But yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Austin and Robbie. They're top-notch guys. The whole field is pretty good, and I'm pretty shocked that I'm up here running with them. But it's a pleasure to be out here, and picking up 2 seconds in a row is pretty neat.
Well, thank you for coming and chatting with us tonight, and once again, congrats on a great run, solid all night, and looking good for the next round.
Thank you.
Landon Lewis did that Ron Hornaday connection there. Ron's run out at Irwindale Speedway before and had a lot of fun out there as well. And here's a young man who I'd like to see get down to Irwindale at some point, because he sure looked awfully racy there tonight. Robbie Keneally, as we mentioned, you picked up the Fast Race Lap Award presented by HomeSmiles.com. You won a heat race. You led the first quarter of this race. And man, I know that you are probably crushed with 3rd, though. You at least had 2nd in tow. And then it looked like you had a little bit of a tangle there with the lap car towards the end of the race.
Yeah, it was 2 times in a row that I got caught up by a lap car, and it sucks. But, at the end of the day, we come home on a podium, and that's good to me.
You come home here in 3rd. I think maybe more importantly, as far as you're concerned, because it didn't look like you really had a chance to get after Austin there at the end of that race and a chance for the win. But you've pretty much securely planted yourself in 2nd in points here. And you still are within striking distance of Austin if he were to have, something come up here in one of these final 2 races. So if you look at it from that standpoint, you're keeping pace with him. And for you, that's about all you can do at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's a really good driver, and he's really fast. He's definitely going to be tough to beat, and I know he's smart, so it's going to take a miracle for him to.
Miracles happen at tracks like Bristol, though, and I hear that we might have a schedule change. What are your thoughts about the potential of going to the Coliseum?
Bristol's an interesting track. I mean, I haven't raced there much. To me, it's a lot of single file racing, but we'll find out when we get there.
Well, Robbie, best of luck to you next week. A great run here tonight. Sorry about that little incident there with the lap car at the end. But again, another podium. Just keep kind of chalking them off here, and you're showing everybody that you're the real.
Yep, thank you.
Robbie Keneally comes home in third place here tonight, and that is going to do it for us here in round number 4. Special thanks to our sponsors, Mobil 1, Madera Speedway, Raceface Brand Development, Racecraft 1, Victory Custom Trailers, Homesmiles.com, BEA Energy Drink, Philly Wall Design, and Raceface Telmed. And we want to remind you our next race, 1 week from today, 6:30 Eastern Time, will be on the air. To be determined is what I'm going to say, but I understand we may be going to Bristol instead of South Boston, and I don't think anybody's going to complain about that. Could be quite a bit of fun. Big thank you to Sean Ambrose, turning the knobs tonight, Dougie Beard on the cameras, and my broadcast partner, Christian Challoner. Everybody here at the Global Sim Racing Channel. I'm Jason Galvin, saying congratulations to Austin Edwards, your winner here in round 4 at Irwindale Speedway. Until next time, remember, the only one who remembers when you come home in second is your wife and your dog. Good night.